Do you want to exploit mentally ill people? Are you interested in making lots of money? If you said yes to either of these questions, then you should start a cult. Honey, I Joined a Cult is an inspiring tale about what would happen if you started a cult on a street where, conveniently, every single lizard person and conspiracy theorist lives. You start by failing your former cult because the FBI found you, and now you've taken a bag of money to a new town to start again. Then they make the awful mistake of allowing you to name every aspect of your cult, so I humored myself in the worst way possible. We made the cult of Pickle Rick, a theme I would later regret because of the extremely obscene dialogue. But our pickles are much more than their dialogue. They are extreme inconveniences and should be treated as such. Our pickles are always whinging on about starvation and sleep deprivation and bathroom usage. But we'll save all that nonsense for later, because right now I want to talk about the religion of Pickle Rick, which is led by the prestigious Emperor Pickletine under the banner of the International House of Pickle. Yes, we have Irish origins, and it wouldn't be much of a religion if we didn't have the pickle jar to hold our sermons. These build faith, which I still don't know why we get this much of. But doing the Lord's work comes at a cost. You may start with 14,000, but you quickly have to rely on funds from therapeutic stage dancing and church donations from synthetic remote-controlled beings. Now you may be wondering how we get this elite labor force. Surely straight-line checkers are recruited straight out of the finest colleges from around the world. But no, these disturbed capitalists are collected off of the street and turned into followers. Then by exploiting their minds through our therapy rooms, we earn influence and money. Influence can also be earned through sending your more charismatic schizophrenics on missions from God to shout at people on corners. Then influence will be used to hold sermons every evening which sound like Viking throat singing. But influence is also used to research fun new things too, like the maintenance room. Not that the maintenance room is all that helpful though, because half the time Dave here brooms the same floor over and over again instead of fixing our toilet buckets that keep breaking due to the velocity of our cultist bowel movements. But it's not his fault that the constant brushing of the same floor won't make the voices go away. In order to prevent the FBI from raiding your compound, you must keep your heat low by avoiding death, unhappy pickles and pickle enthusiasts, and avoiding sending your people on too many missions from the one true god Pickle Rick. But you still have to do missions because they give lots of XP to whoever you send. And XP levels up characters so you can make them better people than they are now. When pickles arrive, they're incredibly dull and usually lack any personality whatsoever. You have to be the parent they never had to teach them the core essentials of being a man, meaning you must teach them how to lie, deceive, and commit grand larceny. Speaking of crimes, this game plays much like Prison Architect. Of course, I'm not talking about the UI, I'm talking about treating your cultists like they are lower than dirt. You'll stuff people side to side in rooms like this is the Willy Wonka house, and the bathrooms will lack any kind of basic human rights like privacy, cleanliness, or decency. Very quickly, you will realize that treating people nice is extremely inconvenient fiscally, and that everyone is extremely ungrateful for what you provide. For example, I spent $2,500 on making a fun rec room, only to have my people get sick of every item in the rec room, then complain about not having any fun. Maybe you'll enjoy 24/7 work with no sleep much more fun than our toy room. Speaking of treating people poorly, this game has schedules much like RimWorld. You can orchestrate people's days to be exactly how you want them, however too many hours of work and no play makes Jack a serial killer. Although I've never seen this evil state, because anyone that gets that depressed gets the boot. Go sort out your issues somewhere else. A much scarier issue that threatens our population is hygiene, or the lack thereof. Apparently, washing your hands in the community trough is all it takes to start a bladder plague, and a hygiene plague, and bipolar disorder. But if anyone actually does suffer from being bipolar, fret not, because that's why we researched the energy spa. From its appearance, you might assume this is some kind of shock therapy machine, but don't be foolish. This is the energy spa machine that electrocutes the demons away for $10 per session. At first, our clients were scared upon entering the room, but over time it became one of our more popular attractions. Speaking of demons, let's get back to our pickles. There's a quality system for recruits in this game, ranging from very poor on the lowest end to some level I'll never reach on the highest end. But I don't need high-end people when I can get funny messages like this on the lower end. The higher the quality, the more potential they have to grow and become better citizens. But you can forget all that and throw all your hopes and dreams for good recruits into the trash, because you'll never actually recruit anyone that isn't very poor. I once kept firing my recruits one after another until I got one better than very poor. And I'll just say that we ended with 5 very poor angry customers and 1 very poor recruit that I had to settle with to avoid the heat from rising too much more. Food is another big part of keeping your people happy, and the kitchen is the best way to make food for your people. However, the kitchen takes a lot of influence to unlock. So for about 2 weeks, everyone in my compound was living off of paydays and almond joys. As you can imagine, this made them all quite angry, especially when I couldn't feed them because I spent all the food money on a new $1,000 desk. Check out this this though, it glows. When you do build out the $3,000 kitchen, you can finally provide a tasty dish called gruel. It looks like you ground up Jabba the Hutt and poured him into some runny oatmeal, but it has everything a growing boy needs. In order to make gruel, you must order gruel packets, and those cost money. At the start of making gruel, we had a day where everyone was slowly dying of starvation because they had no money for vending machines and no money for gruel ingredients, until eventually we shilled enough pickle propaganda to afford some McFlurry packets and then assigned a dedicated worker to actually cook. After smashing this button on and off for several minutes, I sat watching the chef waste many of our gruel ingredients because they had no idea how to cook. After the famine was over, I discovered that apparently it lowers the prestige of a room to cram everyone into a tiny space, so I expanded the pickle jar and changed the format from a church to a courtroom. Seeing as morale is always an issue here, and giving people more time off isn't helping, we had to begin researching alternative methods like giving them actual beds and actual bathrooms to raise their happiness levels. The problem with this much research without the proper staffing is the lack of influence income to both research and hold a sermon every evening. We skipped so many sermons that for a while we became less of a religious cult and more of a group of extremely lonely people with major mental health issues that are looking for companionship. To fix this issue, I began expanding our influence generation by making a chamber of spirits. Using hallucinogens, a Waluigi board, and Mark from accounting yelling through the vents, we were able to charge people $14 to talk to their hallucinations every day. This proved to be very profitable and funded the ability to make our people less unhappy. We got them out of their roach-infested beds and their exposed showers, and then we got more free labor off the streets. With more customers, our church became perpetually full and our wallets perpetually fat. We began investing in large quantities of green rugs, and I began to expand our church once again, seeing as our ego could no longer fit in such a small space. I taught our people an exciting new way to raise money known as begging, and even those who disliked us still paid us, before running away in fear of what an Elvis impersonator might do if they didn't. Then, with too much money, influence, faith, and time, we began researching the dark arts of pentagrams and Satanism, because that's a feature in this game. Although personally I don't like their drip, so I opted to research the Infernal Room instead. The Infernal Room is kind of like an evil sauna that lets you sweat the toxins out and let the evil in. However, I would sweat very carefully, as I believe this is an entry point if the Doom guy ever decides to return to Earth. One final addition we made to our now very profitable international House of Pickles is green pathing to help the blind find their way to our facilities, because without proper clear pathing, the AI will start wandering off course, which could lead to them discovering our cult's dark secrets, such as our cult leader has a giant mansion all to himself behind the commons quarters, so he doesn't have to mix with, quote, those weird pickle fanatics. The Pickle spreads happiness and joy to all. We show people the way to the light of our Lord, and we believe in peace and righteousness for all under our God. But that's only because this game won't let you have M4s and heavy weaponry. If they did, we would start a religious crusade to purge the false gods in the name of our cosmic pickle. Until then, consider subscribing for more content like this in the future. In the meantime, check out one of these videos, and as always, thanks for watching.